Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we will be covering the Travis Walton story. Travis was a lumberjack who claimed was abducted by aliens in the year 1975. There has been a lot of talk about this event. Even a book and a movie have been made based on this story. Is it a hoax or did something really happen? I'll let y'all decide. This is Agent J.A. and this is Chronicles of the Unexplained and Explained. In the cold mountains of northeastern Arizona, one of the most famous and controversial UFO encounters in American history unfolded in the autumn of 1975. To this day, the story of Travis Walton remains one of the most debated alien abduction cases ever recorded. Some believe it was a genuine extraterrestrial encounter. Others insist it was an elaborate hoax. But no matter what people believe, the events surrounding Travis Walton became legendary. In November 1975, Travis Walton was a 22-year-old logger working with a tree-thinning crew near the small town of Snowflake, Arizona. The crew was led by his friend Mike Rogers. They had been hired by the U.S. Forest Service to clear brush and thin sections of forest in the White Mountains near Heber, Arizona. The work was exhausting. Every day the men spent long hours in the freezing wilderness cutting trees, hauling timber, and trying to finish the contract before winter storms arrived. The crew had already fallen behind schedule, and tensions were high. On the evening of November 5, 1975, after another difficult day in the forest, the crew piled into a pickup truck and headed down a dark mountain road toward home. What happened next would change their lives. As the truck bounced down the isolated dirt road through the trees, several members of the crew noticed a strange glow through the forest ahead. At first they thought it might be a forest fire. But as they drove closer, they realized the light was unlike anything they had ever seen. Hovering silently above a clearing was a metallic object shaped like a giant disc. The object reportedly glowed with a bright golden light that illuminated the trees around it. Some witnesses described it as resembling two shallow plates pressed together. Others estimated it was about 15 to 20 feet across. The men were terrified. Several of them yelled at Mike Rogers to keep driving. But Travis Walton was fascinated before anyone could stop him. He jumped out of the truck and walked toward the glowing object. The rest of the crew watched in horror as he approached the craft. The object hummed with a strange electrical sound. Then suddenly, according to witnesses, a brilliant blue-green beam shot out from beneath the craft and struck Travis. The force allegedly lifted him off the ground and threw him backward through the air. The crew panicked, believing Travis had been killed. Mike Rogers slammed the truck into reverse and sped away from the clearing, but only moments later, guilt overwhelmed them. They turned around and returned to the site. Travis Walton was gone, and so was the object. The men searched desperately through the darkness, shouting Travis's name into the cold night air. There was no answer, no body, no footprints, nothing. Terrified and confused, the crew eventually drove back into town and contacted authorities. At first, police suspected foul play. The story sounded unbelievable. 7 loggers claiming a UFO had abducted their friend. Investigators believe the men might have murdered Travis Walton and invented the UFO story to cover it up. The crew underwent intense questioning. Some officers believed the men were hiding something. Others thought the entire story was a prank. Then the case became even stranger. Days passed. There was still no sign of Travis Walton. Search teams combed the forests of Arizona. Helicopters scanned the mountains. Volunteers searched ravines and wooded areas. Nothing was found. The story exploded across newspapers and television stations nationwide. Many assumed Travis was dead. Others believed he had staged his disappearance. But then, 5 days later, something shocking happened. Travis returns in the early morning hours of November 10th, 1975. Travis Walton suddenly reappeared, disoriented and weak. He contacted his family from a phone booth near Heber, Arizona. His brother rushed to pick him up, according to Travis. He had no idea 5 days had passed. To him, it felt like only a few hours. He appeared frightened, dehydrated, and emotionally shaken, and then he told his story. Inside the craft, Travis claimed that after being struck by the beam of light, he regained consciousness in a strange room. He initially believed he was in a hospital. The room was dimly lit with smooth metallic walls and strange machinery. But then he saw the beings around him. According to Walton, several short humanoid creatures stood nearby. He described them as having pale skin, bald heads, and large eyes. Terrified, he panicked. He claimed he grabbed a nearby object and swung it at the beings, causing them to retreat. Then, according to his account, a human-looking man entered the room. This figure reportedly had unusually handsome features and wore a strange, helmet-like device. The man never spoke. Instead, he guided Travis through parts of the craft before placing a mask over his face. Travis then lost consciousness again. The next thing he remembered was waking up along a highway in Arizona beneath the night sky. The UFO vanished above him as he watched. The story became one of the biggest UFO cases in American history. Television programs, radio shows, magazines, and newspapers covered the event non-stop. The crew members submitted to polygraph examinations. Several reportedly passed. Supporters argued that the consistency of the witnesses' stories added credibility to the case. Skeptics remained unconvinced. Critics pointed out inconsistencies in the timeline and accused the men of fabricating the event for fame or financial gain. Others suggested Travis may have suffered hallucinations or psychological trauma. Still, no definitive explanation was ever proven. One major reason the story gained so much attention was the polygraph testing. The logging crew underwent multiple lie detector tests administered by professional examiners. Some tests indicated the witnesses were telling the truth as they understood it. This fueled public fascination, however. Skeptics argued that polygraphs are unreliable and cannot prove alien abduction occurred. Debates over the case continue even today. Believers point to the emotional consistency of the witnesses over decades. Critics argue that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. In 1978, Travis Walton published a book titled The Walton Experience, describing the alleged encounter in detail. Years later, the story inspired the 1993 science fiction film Fire in the Sky, which dramatized the abduction. The movie became famous for its horrifying depiction of alien experimentation and introduced the Travis Walton case to an entirely new generation. Although the film took creative liberties, many viewers considered it one of the scariest alien abduction movies ever made. The real Travis Walton continued speaking publicly about the incident for decades afterward, appearing in documentaries, interviews, and UFO conventions around the world. The mystery that never died nearly 50 years later. The Travis Walton case remains one of the most famous UFO incidents ever reported. Unlike many alien abduction stories involving only one witness, this case involved an entire group of men who all claimed to see the same glowing craft. No one has ever fully explained what happened in those Arizona woods that night. Was it an elaborate hoax, mass hysteria, a misunderstood natural phenomenon, or something far stranger? To believers, the Walton case is powerful evidence that humanity may not be alone. To skeptics, it is one of the most successful UFO stories ever created. But in the dark forests of Arizona, where the story began, many still wonder what Travis Walton truly encountered beneath that glowing light in 1975, and whether somewhere beyond the stars, someone was watching. So what do you think really happened to Travis Walton in that dark night? I'll let you decide. I am Agent J.A., and this is Chronicles of the Unexplained. And Explained, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Comment to let me know from where you're watching. Stay safe and always remember to keep your mind open.